Alright guys, welcome to this video. I've promised this for some time, so let's go for it. Basically what I would like to do is I would like to give you a complete overview regarding the different players in the FX industry. Okay, and I will go also a bit beyond, not only limited to foreign exchange. And obviously what I will do is I will take on a rather skeptical attitude, and my objective is to show you how important it is to follow the money. Okay, so no matter with what kind of parties you interact, always understand how does this party benefit from the industry, how do they make money, what are their incentives, and that will answer you a lot of questions you may have. Okay, so let's start. Now, of course, we have public bodies as well. We have governments. They have their own incentives, and in the context of foreign exchange, well, it's well known that when it comes to the publication of economic numbers, for example, these numbers often are manipulated by the responsible economists. Yes, they may change the rules, and suddenly, unemployment is quoted as having decreased, but this may just be the result of changing the law regarding what is seen as unemployed. So we have seen that before. Okay, so they play their own games by massaging the numbers, let's say. Yes, and then of course governments in general, the big topic is always taxation. You can see that in the last years, in general, the taxation of financial products has increased. But I will not elaborate on this here. This would go too far. And of course, we're also aware that politicians have an incentive to being elected. So there we come to the topic of public debt. And this leads us to the central banks. Okay, to make a long story short, central banks basically they have a monopoly on the price of money, which is the interest rate. Yeah, and a lot of books have been written on central banks. People have emphasized that the system as we have it right now may not be optimal. Central banks play an important role when it comes to the significant increase in public debt in the last decades, apart from the fact that often the ownership of central banks is unclear, to put it mildly. Yeah, I recommend books such as The Monster of Jekyll Island. So the American Central Bank is, for example, not in public ownership. Okay, and it should also be remembered that the financial system wasn't always that way. Before, in the 70s, we had the US dollar being linked to gold. Then with Bretton Woods, this was changed, and since then we have a financial system where central banks have a lot of power, a monopoly on money, and they basically decide on the basis of discretion where they will place the interest rate. And many economists argue that this has contributed significantly to the financial crisis, that this has contributed significantly to public debt. Okay, but again, those topics deserve videos on their own. Okay, they're too complicated. Yes, when it comes to financial markets and the intervention of central banks in the markets, they don't intervene for profits, that is known. They may try to stabilize markets, so to speak. But so therefore they are not on the side of market manipulators who are moving the price in order to make a profit. This should be understood, of course. Then we have exchanges. It's not so relevant for foreign exchange, more for equities. But as you can imagine, exchanges have a lot of power when it comes to markets. For equities, they facilitate the trading. They earn on the transactions made. They do not have directional risk. They earn on any buy or sell, their settlement, etc. But again, I will not elaborate on this now because it's not so relevant for foreign exchange. Then we have the regulators. Again, this is a complex topic which deserves its own literature. Remember how regulators in the last financial crisis have given very good grades to products which turned out to be worthless. Regulators are paid by banks, so there's a conflict of interest as well. There's neither real competition. When it comes to foreign exchange, well, as I have shown before, every few years they find the smart money with a few billions, but the game continues. And when it comes to private traders who may complain about, let's say, broker price manipulation, they deal with it on a case-by-case basis, but so far they haven't really succeeded in, regulating the industry more. But I come to that. Okay, so then we have the smart money players, and I've talked a lot about that. As you know, my work concentrates on the actual market manipulation, yes? On, a cartel of entities moving the price against the rest of the market participants, the so-called dumb money. That's my main focus, as you know by now. And we should also distinguish, the investment banks, for example. Investment banks these days are involved in all different types of business. I mean, since the Glass-Steagall Act was abolished by Clinton, we again have those big banks who do commercial banking as well as securities, as well as mergers and acquisitions, as well as asset management, as well as research. So, and this hasn't really changed since the last financial crisis, So it's still the same system. The banks shift capital internally. They have a lot of impact. They do broker services for big funds. The big funds trade via the investment banks. They're on the market making side. They have different departments and teams which are also separated, which may even compete internally, like the algorithmic team as well as the asset managers. I've shown that before. Then you have mutual funds. Remember that regarding mutual funds, 90% do not outperform the index over a long time period. Still they exist. They do active trades. Then we have hedge funds, which have less restrictions and more complex strategies, which are only open to suitable investors. They, go long, short. They do all kinds of strategies, quantitative, global macro, etc. And they trade via the big banks or big brokers. And they are definitely big fish. We have other vehicles, special purpose vehicles, and private equity funds, but I don't elaborate on this for now. And there are, of course, also managed accounts, so traders who, for example, want to trade OPM, other people's money, but not in a fund structure, but via managed accounts. They tend to be smaller players. Then we have a group of brokers, including institutional brokers, inter-dealer brokers, liquidity providers, retail brokers. I've elaborated on the retail brokers. I've shown how they, manipulate the price against the client by doing price spikes, by slipping the client, by changing the spread, etc. A lot of games which are played there. But of course, there are brokers who just facilitate access to the market, the liquidity pool, as they say, yes, who do not change prices, but they just earn commissions and spread, for example, There are also white labelers who, so they have a different company name, but actually they represent a bigger firm. That's quite common. And there are also introducers trying to earn on introducing clients to these entities. And as a general message here, all roads lead to Rome. It may look from the outside that there are different parties, that there's a competition, but if you would make the analysis and you would actually research who owns what in the end, you will find that it all boils down to a smaller number of players who are not competing. So again, we have a cartel structure, even when it comes to liquidity providers. You may think, there's so many trying to give you best prices, but reality often is that it all comes down to a handful of top tier entities, who have control. So, as you know, these players can be part of the smart money, but they not necessarily. Some are semi-smart. They may not be able to move the price itself, but they may earn by introducing other entities and clients to this type of business. Then, of course, with corporates, they represent a big group, the biggest group on the dumb money side, But remember, as I said before, they may not necessarily want to make a profit. They try to balance, to hedge currency fluctuations. That's the reason why they place big orders on the market. Yes, I have talked about this before as well. There are no experts in the market, so they believe that it's all random, which is the reason why they do what they do. Merchant banks, they try to sell their products. Yes, structured notes, certificates. There is a whole range of products these days, also over the counter, and their interest is to sell as many products as they can and to earn a commission and fees on that. So be aware of this. And then we have other entities. We have platform providers. We all know the big names. They have become huge companies these days and a lot of influence. We have sellers of news, let's say, like Bloomberg, etc., who have exclusive networks of real-time information. We also have software sellers, etc. Yeah? And then we have a whole range of service providers who are indirectly and directly related to the FX industry. We have commercial banks, custodians, administrators, accountants, advisors, lawyers, etc. This is like a middle or back office of service providers related to this industry. So let's now come to this part here, which is more on the dark money side. Yeah. So as you know, there are trading forums where people talk about all kinds of things related to trading. Now, most of the time, the trading forum makes money by introducing clients to brokers. So basically, it is like a forum where people discuss all kinds of things, but it should come down to them opening an account with some of these brokers, depositing money and trading. Yeah, this is basically the objective of these entities most of the time. On the education sides, they claim they want to teach you this or that, and it's pretty similar. They only want to introduce you to brokers, and earn something along the way. Then with signal service providers, thanks God, they become less and less popular. Entities selling signals when you should trade and what you should trade. It has proven to not be very successful, and the worst is social trading as well. I mean, there have been a lot of issues. Companies have set up fake profiles of apparently winning traders just to attract people and again to introduce them to brokers to make money that way. Okay, but more and more people have become aware these days. It just doesn't work, okay? You cannot just copy someone in general, so that's a bad idea in the first place. We have a lot of trading coaches. They claim they want to teach you their strategy and they charge you for their courses, and this is also known by now. We have a lot of entities selling indicators, selling systems, selling automated systems, often with false back tests, false forward tests, etc. And then we have also sellers of research and market commentary. Look, don't get me wrong. There are also legit companies. What I'm saying is the vast majority of these entities is not genuine. Yeah, they try to make money. They try to sell. Okay. But yes, there are good programmers. They may produce good indicators, and nothing wrong with that. Okay, but they will not advertise aggressively neither. They will, program good indicators. They will put on the side. They will, reasonably price them, and you may use them. They may be of benefit or not. They may be helpful for you to incorporate in your approach or system, or maybe not. But always have a skeptical attitude, because whenever you see these kind of adverts, the more aggressive the marketing, the higher the likelihood this complete scam. Yes. So it comes down again to the smart money against the dumb money. Now we also have a blockchain technology, which will probably change the markets a lot in the next years and decades. Okay, but that's again a topic on its own. So decentralized trading frameworks, and let's see what happens. Okay, whether this will have an impact on the current cartel structures. But my message here is the following. Okay, follow the money. So if you want to understand why a person or entity does what it does, understand how do they earn money. Okay. That answers a lot of your questions. What's their incentive? What's their ultimate game plan? And then be aware that, there is a handful of entities. They cooperate. Okay, they're in a cartel structure. They compete in some areas, and it looks from the outside as if it will all be fair competition. But the reality is, They have a lot of control. They have a lot of market share. They, benefit from it. They, have it among themselves. My work, as you know, focuses on how they manipulate prices, how they use dark pools to coordinate the algorithms, etc. How they move the price against all the rest of market participants. That's what my work focuses on. Now, in this video, I want to give you a general overview, okay, showing you these kind of different companies and how they make money and what they're actually trying to do in the end. And again, I don't want to discredit everyone. I don't want to say, this industry is a complete scam. That's not true. However, it is in a way a shark of pools. Yes, because the majority of all these service providers has an agenda. And the more you are aware of this agenda, the better it is for you, because it will enable you to make better decisions for yourself. Yes, look, don't get me wrong. There are some trading coaches which have helped people, like to, for example, improve their psychology, to improve their risk management, to maybe improve the strategy. Yes. Yeah, it exists. I don't want to talk it down. I don't want to be negative, okay? So there are value producing people and entities, yes. There are some system sellers. The system may not be great, but it may be a good basis, to work with, and you can improve it yourself, etc. That's all good. Nothing wrong with that. And yes, there are also forums where people exchange ideas, help each other. But just understand where, what is the incentive of the different parties. Follow the money. Okay? So I felt that it would be a good idea to give you this general overview, and this framework will help you hopefully in the future if you come across like all those kind of advertisements and websites, etc. And my work focuses on how the smart money manipulates the markets against the dumb money. And now I will do another video on manipulation within the dumb money, so to speak, by showing you some scams, frauds, scandals in the FX industry conducted by entities who are not part of the smart money cartel, yeah, who are basically trying to, for example, rip off innocent clients, and who got caught also. So I will make another video about that topic. But please understand, that these are the players, and understand what they're trying to do. And yes, there are good brokers out there as well. Yeah, there are brokers who are not touching the price, who are just, facilitating access to markets. Yes, I neither want to talk that down. That would be unfair as well. Just be aware, of retail brokers who are known to play games. And at the moment, they just get away with it. The regulators are behind. They may work on it case by case, but, they didn't establish rules which will basically prevent all that from happening. So as if trading is not difficult enough, you have the odds against you because of all that. Because you're a price taker, and these guys are actually price makers. And they have an informational advantage, and they have other advantages. Just be aware of this. All the best. Stay safe.